My name is Imad Enchassi. I've been in the United States of America since 1983. So my father was born in 1936 in the state known as Palestine. My grandfather lived there, my great-grandfathers. We could go back all the way, maybe 10 generations to that land. In 1948, the State of Israel was established. A war broke out, and my father lived in the city of Jaffa now, very close to Tel Aviv. So my family, my father, my grandfather have to make what I call in my book the Palestinian Trail of Tears. They left temporarily until the war ended, but they ended up being ethnically cleansed. The whole land was confiscated. My father's property and my grandfather's property were given to settlers, and eventually that part of the world will be known as Israel. And we grew up in a refugee camp in Lebanon all our lives. So they always were speaking of the glory of the old country and how that house that have almost 13 bedrooms right on the Mediterranean in the city of Jaffa. I know that because I went to see it. It's a bed and breakfast now, that's if it tells you anything. He always spoke of that house, perhaps to let us know that, perhaps to give us pride that our life started as being free and not refugee. Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982. Beirut was under siege for 45 days. After 45 days, the United States of America broke a ceasefire. President Reagan, and he said, what you're doing in Beirut is a Holocaust. Stop. So they broke a treaty guaranteeing the safety of the civilians. Well, that did not happen. The fighters left Lebanon. The Israeli army that was responsible for Beirut safety turned a blind eye on a very extreme Christian group by the name of the Christian Phalangists, who went inside the refugee camp and for 3 days butchered 1,800 people. I was there with two of my colleagues. We were volunteering. During war, if you don't want to fight, you feel like you're obliged to at least help the injured or so on and so forth. So I was 17, so I don't have any medical training whatsoever, but you could carry a dead body or you could carry somebody who's injured. And we used to go from place to place, so we got stuck inside the refugee camp. The two people with me were sniped. I ran inside a house and hid in a chimney. I cannot even tell you how many days I was in there. Perhaps the lack of oxygen, the fear. Came out. Now keep in mind there was no cell phones and none of this stuff back then. And I remember going home to my mom and she opened the door and slapped me. And then she hugged me at the same time because they assumed that I vanished with everybody else. I went to the mosque. The speech of the mosque was not the speech I wanted to hear. It will be considered maybe hate speech against Jews and Christians. It was an experience that perhaps formed my interfaith passion. I remember the day I got the visa. I have tried maybe 3 times, 4 times before, and I was denied. But I went home and I told my mom. She said, it's okay, whatever God wants. I said, oh no, I got it. But the simple fact that, she said, at least the Enchassi names lives on elsewhere. That's the desperation of people who are under war. And eventually I got a ticket. Beirut, New York City, and New York City, Dallas, Texas. I was going to start my English studies at Texas Wesleyan College, and then at the same time, I wanted just to leave. I recall very vividly that we were spending a night in New York City. At the hotel, there was a sign saying hourly visit to Lady Liberty. I had $320 and one-way ticket. That's all I had. The second day, our flight from Dallas to Dallas was in the afternoon, and I remember seeing her. I looked up. I know she was too good for me. She has her own island, and I remember what's on the bottom, right? Because that's me. Give me your poor, check. Give me your refuse, check. Give me everything that was on the bottom of Lady Liberty. That's me, that was me. Came back and got my flight, went to Dallas, Texas, and started my career, my studies, and then going to University of UT Arlington, and then Texas Tech University. And then from there, I was recruited by a restaurant company and came to Oklahoma City, and here I am. America was built on ideals. I'm tempted to say all of us as human beings have these ideals that we want to live up to. The civil liberties came because people fought for the ideals of what America stands for. All men and women are created equal, with liberty and justice for all. So Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all these civil rights leaders are reminding the United States or reminding America to live up to their ideals. And I think every generation that comes reminds America of their ideals. I think we forget sometimes. My teacher once told me, if you are inside a house and the house is newly painted, you no longer smell the stinky smell. It's gonna take somebody from the outside to come inside and tell you, oh my God, this paint really stinks. So perhaps what's on the Statue of Liberty is our ideals. What's in our Constitution is our ideals. The day I became a US citizen, I felt like I was on the top of the world. I could remember to this day. I remember swearing, getting my certificate, running across the street, applying for a passport, paying extra. The day I got my passport in the mail, you felt like you belong, right? You felt like Lady Liberty, like this woman is like way above your league. Now she's yours. And then you felt love for the land that actually gave you a citizenship where nobody else would. As a US citizen, you have this beautiful feeling, and it seems like you have to prove you belong here, that somehow you have to defend if you're patriotic or not. And somehow, since you were not born here, you have to prove something. But then we went through many challenges. But at the same time, all the alliances came together. The interfaith community is here. And amongst all of these, there was only one lawsuit we had to win, and which was the lawsuit against the state of Oklahoma. That was an extremely hard decision. The way that state question 755 read is the state of Oklahoma will not accept anything that's based on Islamic law or the tradition of the Prophet. My Prophet was mentioned, my faith was mentioned, my Quran was mentioned, and this basically would be banning Islam altogether. But it was really hard, honestly. It was really hard to sit here and say, yeah, let's sue the state of Oklahoma after almost 70% of the citizens of Oklahoma voted for the amendment. And it took the judge 40 minutes to say that, hey, this country has freedom of religion. So here I am suing my own state to validate my faith. the effects after that. The politicians see, we told you Muslims cannot live with the ideals of democracy. No, we were living with the ideals of democracy. The state decided to outlaw my religion, and I had no other avenue but to go to the federal court. That was very American. But at the same time, the public perception was hard. I remind America again of its ideals, and sometimes I get threats for that. When we look at Ukraine, when Russia turned the water off and the electricity off and start bombing hospitals and start bombing schools and so on and so forth, we call it a war crime. And then somehow it's self-defense in Gaza. This is double standard. I don't speak against what's happening because I'm Palestinian. I don't speak against what's happening because I lost 5 of my family members there. I speak against what's happening because I'm a human being and I have a heart. Perhaps my heart is more sensitive because I was on the receiving end in Beirut. Perhaps my heart is more sensitive because I know what a hungry child feels like and what a thirsty child feels like. Perhaps I'm more sensitive because I know what lack of dignity is. But any human beings that sees those images of this genocide that's taking place, I make it very clear what happened on October 7th is horrific. How are we gonna respond as human beings? Still no water, no electricity. Hospitals being bombed. Again, we have to work very hard to remind America of its ideals. We have committed many genocides ourselves as Americans. When we say we, I have to identify we as Americans are complicit in that. And what is happening in Gaza right now is we're complicit. I told my congregation, I said, I feel sad sometimes at night that my tax money killed my family. 5 of them. One of them was 13 years old. But despite all of that, we have to push forward. And we have to wake all those people who are sleeping and remind them of our ideals and our Constitution. I'm so proud of all the younger generation, all the younger generation not buying all the propaganda out there and the marching on the streets. I'm so proud that people are seeing other people as human beings. And, I'm old now. And, the other day on my birthday, there was about 500 youth right here downtown Oklahoma City who are, I said, how many of you are Muslim? It's like half of the crowd was Muslim and the other half was not. How many of you from Palestine? It was maybe 20% were from Palestinian ancestry. And they were all there, saying, free Palestine. It is extremely important that, as an immigrant, sometimes we forget that we are immigrants, that we came here with nothing, and certain things that we sometimes as an immigrant have been living here for a long time, you take for granted. At the same time, a lot of those people would come here and maybe they see many of us now, we have nice cars and nice homes, and it's like, I want to get there. So it took me 35 years to get there, just to work hard and so on and so forth. We have a support group for them. They have issues. They have, homesick, scared, mental issues. It's a big thing, and then culture norms that are completely different to what they're used to. So a lot of these things we're trying as immigrants that came here, earlier, trying to help them in the process of acculturation. So for your generation, I tell you, come on in. There are institutions now that can embrace you, and we can ensure your identity, right? We have Islamic schools, we have Islamic institutions that will ensure your identity. At the same time, we want all the diversity that you can bring with you. We need all the innovation that you could bring with you. And most importantly, we need your perseverance, because your generation gonna take America and remind America again of its ideals. Studying the history of the US and seeing what other groups went through to be accepted in this nation, I am not surprised of some of the setbacks. I'm not surprised of some of the accusation. I'm not surprised of some of the stereotypes that people give. The Muslims are not the first group to be, talked ill of. The challenge that we have as a Muslim community is, what are we doing to educate the people? When you have the proper education and you understand things from the perspective of people who are Muslim, then the person attitude changes. But what seals the deal is a relationship. I ask my congregation to always go knock on their neighbor's door, say, hey, I'm your next door neighbor. Here's some biryani, here's some baklava, here's something, and to be active. It's very easy to put a wall between you and that someone if you don't have a relationship with them. Relationship profoundly changes the formula. And that's what we're battling to do. We're hoping that the next Muslim generation take that even further. Run for office and be a congressman and congresswoman, be the president of the United States. We need those voices out there.